Today we're going to talk about how to add and subtract polynomials. So if anybody in here has passed elementary school, 3rd grade, 2nd grade, then you can add and subtract polynomials, because all we're going to do today is we're going to add and subtract these polynomials right here the same way that we would add and subtract regular numbers. So if you were able to add and subtract regular numbers in elementary school, then you are able to add and subtract polynomials, because there's really no difference. We have 4 steps here that we're going to use to add and subtract polynomials. Step number 1 is to distribute the minus sign. If necessary. Alright, so if we look at our first example here, we have 4x squared plus 2x plus 6x to the third minus 9, and then minus 7x to the fourth minus 6x squared plus 4x plus 5. So we're going to take this minus sign that is in between our two polynomials, and we're going to distribute that minus sign to the second polynomial. That means that we're going to change the sign of all of the numbers after the minus sign. So instead of having positive 7x to the fourth, we now have negative 7x to the fourth plus 6x to the second minus 4x minus 5. We've taken the negative sign and we've distributed it or changed the signs of all of the numbers that come after. Step number 2, once you distribute the negative sign, is to write the second polynomial the second problem under the first problem. Matching exponents. Okay? So you're going to look at the exponents of all of the numbers in the second problem, and you're going to match them up with the exponents of all of the numbers in the first problem. For example, here we have 4x to the second. The exponent is 2. I'm going to look at all of the numbers in my second problem, and I'm going to find another number that also has an exponent of 2. For example, I've got plus 6x to the second. So I'm going to take plus 6x to the second, and I'm going to write it underneath the 4x to the second because the exponents match. Then I'm going to look at the plus 2x. I'm going to find another number, minus 4x, that matches that because the exponents are the same, and I'm going to write minus 4x underneath the 2x. I like to mark off the numbers that I've used. That way I make sure I use all of the numbers and I don't forget anything. Next, we've got 6x to the third. If I look, I've got 2 numbers left. Neither one of those numbers has 3 for an exponent. So they have no match with this problem right here. So what you need to do is you need to leave a blank spot right here so that you don't put anything underneath it. Because there's nothing that is the same as that exponent, we can't add anything or subtract anything from it, so we're going to leave a blank. Finally, we have minus 9. There's no variable, so I'm going to take this minus 5 that also has no variable, and I'm going to put it underneath the minus 9, so we've got minus 5. And if I look, I've got one number left, negative 7x to the fourth. The first problem has no match with negative 7x to the fourth. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this number and you're going to write it in the very front of the problem, negative 7x to the fourth, because there's no match out here. That way I can add nothing up here with this one right here. So you want to make sure that you match them all up. Step number 3, after you've matched up all of your exponents, is to add the problems together. This problem started out as a subtraction problem. But once we distributed the negative sign, we no longer have that minus sign. Now we have a positive addition sign. So I'm going to come back over here to my problem. I've got nothing in this spot right here. So it's nothing plus negative 7x to the fourth, which equals negative 7x to the fourth. Then I've got 4x to the second plus 6x to the second. This is where we go back to this elementary school idea of adding regular numbers together. We're just going to do 4 plus 6, which equals 10. And then if you remember, when you add variables, you do not do anything with the exponents. They stay the same. So this is 10x to the second. Then we've got 2x plus negative 4x. So that gives me negative 2x. Then I've got 6x to the third plus nothing. So that's going to stay as 6x to the third. And then the final one is negative 9 or minus 9 plus negative 5. That gives me negative 14. Once you've added or subtracted your problems together, the last step, step 4, is to rewrite the answer in standard form. If you remember from the other day, we talked about the standard form of a polynomial is when you rewrite the problem with the highest exponent first and then all the way down to the smallest exponent. So if I look at my exponents in the problem, I notice that the highest exponent is 4. So that number goes first. Negative 7x to the fourth goes first. Next is 6x to the third because 3 is the next highest exponent. So plus 6x to the third. Then we have positive or plus 10x to the second. Then we have minus 2x. And then the last number is always the number that does not have the exponent or the constant, minus 14. Once you've rewritten the problem in standard form, you have finished the problem, and that is going to be your answer. Okay? So if we look at the second example here, we've got another example which is addition. It's a little bit different than the first example. So the second example here, 6x to the third plus 2x squared plus 9 plus 4x to the third minus 2x plus 4. So if we think back to our 4 steps, we said step number 1 is to distribute the minus sign if needed. I don't need to distribute the minus sign in this problem because if I look at my problem, it's not a minus sign, it's actually a plus sign. So there's no need to distribute the minus sign. So we're going to go straight down to step 2 from the previous steps. Step 2 says to take the numbers in the second problem, rewrite them underneath the first problem, making sure to match up the exponents. 6x to the third is going to match up with 4x to the third because they both have 3 as an exponent. So we put 4x to the third right there. 2x squared. There is no match for 2x squared. So if you remember from the first example, we're going to leave a blank right there because nothing matches. Then we have plus 9. Plus 9 is the same as plus 4 because neither one of them have a variable, so we put plus 4. And then finally, we have one number left over. We have minus 2x. It doesn't have a match in the first problem, so if you remember, we're going to take this and we're going to write it over here in the very front of the problem where there's no other matches. So we've got negative 2x. Okay, if you'll notice, now we need a sign in between the 2x and the 4x to the third. Since this is positive 4x to the third, we're going to put a plus sign right there between the two of those. Now that I've rewritten my problems, the next step, step number 3, is to add the problems together. So again, I've got 0 plus negative 2x is negative 2x. 6x to the third plus 4x to the third is 10x to the third. Remember, the exponent does not change. Positive 2x squared plus nothing, positive 2x squared. And then finally, 9 plus 4 is positive 13. And then the final step is to rewrite the problem in standard form. That means the highest exponent comes first. So that's where we have 10x to the third plus 2x to the second minus 2x plus 13. Final answer.